Welcome back, everyone, to part 2 with Matt Cassidy. Make sure you go back and listen if you haven't already listened to part 1. Well, let's get rolling.
So I guess we wanted to take this part 2 this next part of the episode to talk about the early days of Partners Wealth Group, and I guess we look at this and go, what we see now is quite a polished version of how it perhaps started.
It's a lot more polished, I can tell you. Yep.
So really interested to hear a little bit about the raw version of when you first started. What did it look like?
So the raw version really is the origins of kind of where the industry was from. So I remember a day in August 2003 where we effectively acquired $100,000 worth of revenue. And so we thought that we could have actually gone and got an overdraft, but it was I think a Tuesday afternoon, and 40 boxes with 30 manila folders turned up. We opened them and I started keying those clients' details into a computer. And I thought, okay, this will be interesting. So we had a little bit of revenue. We're out there talking to accounting firms. We did have a view about the things that we were doing, but we wanted to do differently than what had played out in the past. So our views that you would sell someone up under a superannuation policy, collect 5% of their income, just flog them a product they didn't need. That wasn't what we actually thought was the appropriate way to go. So we created a fundamental understanding about what we wanted to build and how to actually treat people as part of that particular journey. So while it was raw and it was built off probably a history of the industry, at an early stage we wanted to do things differently. We saw an opportunity to say, well, we're not just going to do what everyone else does. We're going to invest. We're going to have a philosophy. We're going to deal with accounting firms that probably not many firms have been able to do over the last 25 years. And the reason we've done it is because we started off as accountants, we understood accountants, and we talked to them in a way that they understood wealth management to be, not simply asking them to refer a client, but simply saying, well, how do we partner with you and have a broader conversation, but bring you back into the conversation that others actually haven't done before. Yeah. And that was a real probably decision that we made that felt to be appropriate, but probably turned out to be a little bit of genius about cracking that part of the accounting market.
Having said that, there's always, was there a point and we asked this to the people that we have on, where was the point where you went, hang on a minute, I think we've got something really special here? Was it that moment, or was it further on when it sort of started to compound and you started going, well, it goes from this is a hypothesis or a theory to, wow, this is something that can actually have some legs. How far can it go?
If I'm honest, I think that it's taken 20 years to get to that particular point. We acquired in 2011 a national business. It was the Pharmacy Guild's financial planning business. So a decision was made by my previous business partner that we would go and acquire that business. It had a Melbourne office, Sydney, Brisbane, Perth. I personally don't think we were ready to go national at that particular point. I was jumping on planes, recruiting people, finding offices, etc. And after that particular point in time, he had a health issue and left the business. And then a couple of years after that, my other founding business partner actually left the business as well. So it really was a case to say, we've now got a fair bit of debt and we've got an aspiration. Do we double down and actually live the vision of the firm? And at that particular point, it was simply the next stage of absolutely bum down and working our absolute behinds off to actually turn the business around. So probably COVID was a very interesting period because we thought that was going to be a period which was going to be extremely challenging, but we were going to double down on capability within the firm. And so probably the one difference we made to allow us to get to that particular level of growth was we treated the business as a growth play as opposed to an income play. So the most we took out of the business over a 9-year period was 40% of the after-tax. And so to try to sacrifice that level of income to grow your business is a really challenging decision over a long period of time, but one that as it started to get through COVID was a particular period of time where I thought, hang on, we've attracted some really great people. Funding those people by yourself with a pretty modest level of capital at the start was hard. Talent within our industry is very, very expensive. But as soon as we got through that particular period, we improved our balance sheet. We're conservative what we took out. I thought, hang on, we've got something interesting happening here. And there is a certain buzz about the business now, particularly off the back of the number of shareholders we have, the talent we've attracted, and everyone's very excited about the business. And it certainly does feel, when external people come in, that we've got a great culture within the business too. One which we continue to work on, but we certainly try to treat everybody with respect and a part of the family.
And I would say that having been in this office only a couple of times, it certainly felt like that the minute that you walked in the door. So you've definitely achieved that. I'm interested to, I was thinking about our own clients and the planning that we do with our own clients around where they want to be. And, we start with clients in terms of this is where they are now and this is where do they want to go.
Yes.
If you look back, if you roll back all of those years now, did you set out to do what you've done today? Does it look similar? Like if I said Matt at 28, does it look similar or is it completely different?
Completely different.
Right. Okay.
Completely different. And if you, I do think that in life anything is actually possible. I don't ever limit myself to what you can achieve. I do think that we are living in the most amazing period in history ever. The things we can do today versus the things we could do when we started the business or halfway through the business are completely different. Our access to information, access to technology, access to people and opportunity, I think is incredible. Yes, we always, our mindset always shifts to the immediate about what we're dealing with at the moment. And often you can see political issues or geopolitical issues which occupy your mind. But it coming down to, I think we're living in the most amazing period in history and one full of incredible opportunities. So when you take that view, I think that, I don't limit to what it could be. I've always been aspirational to try to be the best we can be. And I've also, I went across actually after our business burnt down to Anthony Robbins, and I was exhausted and went across to Long Beach, California for 3 days, and I thought, I'm so exhausted. I've just been through the fire recovery, et cetera, et cetera. And I came back like I'd been on a 6-month holiday. And I remember one of the things he ran through, which was, surround yourself with great people. The other thing was, success leaves clues. And, if you take, 1 or 2 points from those successful people you've ever seen and take all those into your business and simply copy them, I think you'll be incredibly, do very well in your business. That's one thing I've always tried to notice, that when I see successful people, be inquisitive, people do like sharing. What is it that made you successful? What are the things you went through? Where'd you say no? Where'd you say yes? Where'd you reinvest? And I think that's been a very useful thing. And as I've gone on the journey of seeing some of the best wealth firms in the world, I've tried to follow and replicate some of the things they've done well and trying to eliminate the things that they made mistakes. Yep.
And what is it that, in doing that, what don't people see behind the scenes?
Yeah.
It's been full of challenge. There's been some moments here I thought, what am I doing here? From being in corporate where you don't put everything on the line, getting a salary in, I think particularly given my chartered accounting investment banking, you could command a big salary. So to go from a period of starting a business, earning no income with gentlemen that are 15 and 20 years older that end up leaving the business and you're stuck there with a huge mountain of debt ahead of you, but determination, you look at it and say, are you mad? Are you crazy? What else could you be doing? But I think if you believe in your gut that you can do it and you surround yourself with the right people, and I've had a couple of business partners that are now my fellow directors that have also been alongside me committing to that particular journey. It certainly hasn't been alone. Have been incredible support, and there've probably been some days together we thought, what are we doing? But at the back end of it, I think we're proud that we persevered through challenge. And I think that there is no secret, but I think if your determination and surrounding yourself with the right people and the right vision, the right strategy, you can actually achieve anything you want to.
Yep.
Lesson you learned the hard way.
Yep.
There's always one. What's yours?
I would be of the view that should have invested earlier. A business, I think if you look across your client base, you've got all sorts of different businesses. If we had have invested in capability earlier, I think it would have accelerated where we were.
Yep.
But there's that view that, no, I want to take more out of the business. I want to take more income. So it's really hard to actually sacrifice today to get something into the future. And, that's like investing. If you think, about investing, you're really taking your capital that you can go out and spend today and have fun with to put away a nest egg for tomorrow. And it's really hard when you're 25 and 30 to think that one day you're going to be 50. But
talk to my 18-year-old son about that.
Yeah, chances
not
are
interested.
Chances are you probably will. So, and I think that's one of the great views about wealth and life and business is, make smart decisions today that'll change your life for the future. And I remember heading across to Berkshire Hathaway, which is the annual shareholder meeting in Omaha, Nebraska, and seeing Charlie Munger, the late Charlie Munger, and Warren Buffett in a basketball stadium with 20,000 people in Omaha talking about investments they made in 1965 that they've made 50 times on their money. And it was sort of incredible just to show what discipline can actually do and how it can actually change you and your family's life by having that mindset of, I will actually take the view, and the chances are I am going to be, your 18-year-old son, I am going to be 25, I am going to be 30. And I think looking back, the biggest mistake you can make is actually not doing anything at that age or not educating yourself. And probably the other thing is most young people have no understanding of how much time they have on their hands at that particular stage of their life. Don't waste it. Educate yourself. Get informed about things. We've got more access to information than we've ever had before, but don't waste those years because 25 and 30 comes along, kids and time, and it's a challenge combining everything, as you both know.
Yes. I'm going to get you to chat with my 18-year-old son. We want to open up the talking a little bit more about your leadership style.
Sure.
So we've talked a little bit about the business, but really wanting to get a little bit of an understanding around. I've just jumped into your question here.
So you do that every time.
How would you describing your own leadership style? How would you describe it?
Most of my team would say. So I'm really effective at creating growth opportunities. So I try to lead the business in terms of growth, but in doing so, I actually need a lot of support in the areas that I'm weaker at. So I guess I great at creating the vision, great at creating the determination, great at creating what's possible. But when it comes time to actually help manage the team, help hold their KPIs together, I actually need really good support on doing that because I tend to find that what I can do out in front of the business is better for the business than actually doing some of those particular other things. So to me, it's been, particularly over the last 3 years, a real journey in making sure I've got the right support, the right talent, and the right people to make sure the business can function effectively, but enable me to do what I do best. And probably one of the best things we also put in place around 12 years ago was an advisory board, looking at looking assistance on strategy, governance, risk management, and also support to allow me to be effective at doing what I'm doing, but constantly check in on areas of weaknesses and plug the gaps where I'm less effective at doing what I need to do.
Yeah.
I suppose with scale comes that, and this probably would have been a little bit earlier on in the career, but with scale comes the moment that you can't be in every room.
Yeah.
It's always a really complicated part for a founder to go through.
For sure.
And
because we want to do everything.
Correct, right? How did you navigate that? Because we've obviously got a ton of clients that are before going through,
Yes.
and then the aftermath of that, which is the tendency to want to go back.
For sure.
And they can't do that. So you've obviously done it very successfully. So how did you navigate that complicated part?
I think I mentor around 15 people within the business.
Yeah.
Obviously, I love doing that. I like to do more of it. But I think it's actually the situation to actually allow your people to make mistakes, but also support them with their development. So the moment that you believe they've got the capability, then you can hand over. And sometimes you need to hand over even before you think they've actually got the capability to do it. Allow them to make mistakes. The challenge within our industry is we have hundreds of millions and billions of dollars that we advise on clients. We've got great processes and risk management protocols in place for that. And fortunately, we've got an incredible team which we're very proud of. But I think it's really the case to mentor them, to teach them, to allow them to make mistakes, but let them make mistakes within parameters as well. And risk management and governance within that business is a really big issue, particularly given the amount of capital we manage. And so really is a case to allow them to do what they do within some strict parameters and continue to allow them to grow and develop and mentor them to be the best they can be. And that's that's sometimes not a thankless task, but sometimes it's like, okay, I've done job A, I've done job B, job C. Now let's go and mentor them, and often that's early mornings, late nights. But I think it's what you need to do if you're aspirational about your people in your firm.
And is that what you would say has led to the success of you being able to create a culture in a business as it's scaled?
Yeah, I think it's certainly one of the contributing factors. I also think it's, who do we want to be seen to be, and how do we actually want to behave around that is really important. So if you treat people like they're your friends, they're your family, and not just a number, how would you then think about those people differently, about where they're at, where the development is? But the hard part at any point in time, as we outlined before about balance, is trying to get that right. You've got clients demanding things from you. You might have a transaction occurring. You might be growing in a particular location. You might be jumping on a plane. But then how do you make sure you continually come back and actually do those particular things to get your balance right? And it's never going to be right, in my view. It's a constant challenge. But I think if you go back to your discipline, some structured programs around doing that, hopefully it helps you facilitate those things, Shaz.
Is there ever a time that you're vulnerable in this business? And would people ever see that?
Yes.
We
go question though. That's a great question.
Well, you go through periods which are incredibly stressful, and there's when we think about advice, when we think about capital, we're also trying to predict the future as well a little bit. We use our expertise, and we've got 14 to 15 people that simply look at investments within our business. It's a huge investment we make. But then when something doesn't go to plan, you have to take that personally, because I always say we treat our client capital 100 times more important than our own capital. And investing is uncertain. There's no guarantees. We do incredible work to make sure we give our clients the best chance, but the world doesn't always play out the way you think it. And I remember actually when I was at ANZ, as we were planning to set up the business, September 11 came along, and planes flew into buildings and stock markets crashed, and the GFC came along, and people were in material growth mode at that particular point in time, and any best laid plans actually came unstuck. And so if you're all in on a business, it's hard not to take that personally. It's hard not to be reactive to the stress that actually causes, and money is very emotive. And so we do everything we can to protect every single dollar, as we said 100 times, more importantly than our own money. But investing is uncertain, and you have to take that personally. If not, you probably shouldn't be doing it.
Would your staff know if you're having a tough day?
So I think some of the broader team wouldn't, but I think my executive team would, and I think they've seen me go through some challenges over the last couple of years, just with growth and some things that probably haven't played out the way we needed to. But I think one of the great things that we challenge ourselves to do is to talk about them as a team, have a view that we live the values of the business, and if you don't believe it's right, call it out, don't take it on, and sometimes as the founder and MD, just take the criticism and say, you behaved like an idiot that day, and that's not acceptable. And I think if you allow people to do that and really take that on and say, yep, I'll own that, and I've got to be better.
Yeah.
So it's easy going home to your wife in that mood anyway.
That's another whole thing.
Version 3.
Correct. That's we always, when we talk to our clients, they always, I suppose they always have trouble with leadership conversations, right? And we phrase them as challenging conversations.
Yes.
And the hardest ones are our clients that don't have them, and just sort of wait for it to go away. And evidently we all know that these things don't go away.
Correct.
What would be one of the most challenging leadership conversations that you've had?
I found early on, so when you start a business like we did with three of us, that then became 5, 10, 15, 20, there is no magic paper that you read that tells you how to be a leader. It's like you're just thrown into a position, and in your early years you're fumbling. And I found early on that within business, the talent side of your business and matching the talent was really, really important. And it was really important to, in recruitment as well, that you were honest with what the role was, but you're also honest with what that person's talent was. And when there was a mismatch of the talent, I often found it was very, very uncomfortable and really challenging to almost share with people the fact that, listen, this isn't going to work out. We made a mistake. We thought you were A, but you're B, and your aspiration, your talent is probably not what we actually needed. So it's actually not going to progress forward. And so having those conversations both at business partner levels, at key staff levels, I found really, really challenging because that person at the back end of it is going to be hurting. And I found that really confronting to think about those people wandering out of that room. But sometimes it's the best thing you can do also because someone being in a role that's actually not working in their favour and them leaving happy every day is probably not good for them either. So calling it out early, I think, is actually doing them a favour and otherwise. But I found recruitment, getting that alignment between the capability of the person, what they needed to do to be challenging, and there is no recipe early on. And I remember situations just sitting in the room, very nervous, going, oh my God, how am I going to say this to the person, blubbering, probably blabbering a little bit in terms of what I was saying, and in the end I found it uncomfortable. I thought, geez, I did a lousy job there.
You talked before about you continue to mentor people in your business. I mean, what lessons are you telling them that you wish someone perhaps had have told you earlier on in your sort of leadership journey?
So most of the stuff I mentor are in their sort of up to sort of early 30s. In your career, if you want to be successful, depends upon what industry you're in. But in our industry, there is no solution to hard work. So if you want to be successful, I always think that if you want to be average, do the things that average people want to do. If you want to be above average, do the things above average people are prepared to do. If you want to be incredibly successful, do the things successful people do. And so what are those things? I don't think it's up to us as leaders to tell them where they want to be, but I think it's up to us to share with them what are the mechanisms they can do if they want to be successful. And so when I sit them down, I share with them and say, well, what do you want to get out of the mentoring? What would you like me to outline to you? And where do you want to be successful? And if they say, I want to be successful, I said, are you sure? Are you 100%? Because it's not going to be easy, and you're going to have to do the things that others aren't actually doing. And so I just spend my time carefully making sure that they actually want to be working hard. And if they are, I give them things I've learned along the way, books, mechanisms, different areas they need to skill themselves up on so they actually can be successful in those areas. And you quickly determine after a period of time whether they are completely aligned to that and they're putting in the work or whether they're not. And fortunately, it's not when you are incredibly, incredibly time poor and it feels like your life is in half-hour blocks, you just, unless they're prepared to put the work in, we're not prepared to back that up unless, because they're not going to get any benefit out of that either.
Yeah. I want to come back to something that you said before around, I think you said it was, I can't remember what time period you said, when you established your advisory board.
Sure.
We often talk to clients, we're advising into businesses. When's the right time to either get an advisor into your business or, in your case, perhaps an advisory board?
Yeah.
What was the thinking behind, did something happen there, or was it just an evolution, or how did the advisory board come about? Or was that and I guess there's two questions here, and also, was that your first foray into advisors in your business?
That was the first foray.
Right.
I as a business owner, it's easy to mark your own homework and say I'm exceptional at it.
Tick,
the moment
tick.
tick, how good am I? Fantastic. Look at the money we're making, etc. I think there is a point of commercial maturity where you need to understand where you are, where you want to be, and do you actually have the skill set to do all those things while you're also running a business. So probably the best thing we ever did was actually put that in place. I've obviously had a number of chats with both of you about what you're doing, and I endorse what you're doing. I think it's absolutely fantastic. And there can be some key trigger points within your business that absolutely transform it. And those decisions don't come from your drinking your own soup or or the like. It's from other people analysing what's going on, looking at what's there. And I think if you're serious about your business, having a Juno Advisory, having a board, or you guys leading businesses into a board is, I think, really, really important if you're aspirational and you want to scale your business. I know it's an investment you need to make, but what's the alternative? You don't invest and you don't get an alternative and you don't get another view. And probably the best business people I've ever seen that have achieved a lot have great people around them. They have a team. It's not just them. And they have a lot of people giving them different views at any point in time about what they're doing. So I think those investments are not negotiable. I think you need to be making them. And if you are aspirational, if you're not surrounding yourself by the great people with skills and expertise, supportive of what your skill set is, I'd strongly encourage them to think about it.
Was there something that triggered that decision for you? Was it just it was the right time?
I think it was the situation where we had a lot of debt. We had a vision. We needed assistance to navigate that carefully, to get expertise, to think about where were the other areas we needed to advance our knowledge in, and to make sure we were being held account to within the business. And it's the hard part is almost on an advisory board is you're actually paying other people as a business owner that where you never wanted to be employed before to sit across and tell you what to do. And that's
it's an oxymoron.
Yeah. And people say, "Oh, you're self-employed. You're not accountable to people." I don't think you're ever not accountable to anybody.
Yeah, you're accountable to everyone.
You're accountable to yourself. You're accountable to your business partners. You're accountable to your staff. You're accountable if you've got debt to the bank. You're accountable to everybody. So I think that you're more flexible in your vision of where you need to go versus an old style business that maybe more regulated or the like, but you're always accountable to someone. And why not have people to sit across and hold you and assist you to be accountable to yourself? Because if you are serious, success isn't easy. What's the statistics of what 1 in 10 businesses survives after 12 months, and you probably tell me the statistic after 5 years or 24 years
not
like
many.
us. Yeah, so give yourself the best chance of success and invest in capability and talent around you. I think it's not negotiable at my end. Little plug for Juno there.
I think we appreciate that. What does success mean to you? Because we talk about, and when we go into businesses, I find it incredible when I ask the senior leadership team, what does success mean for you? It's a very complicated question to answer, and so I always love this because success has so many attributes to it,
Sure.
and it changes over time.
Correct.
And we see that a lot. So what does it mean to you now versus when you started this business?
So when we had our board in place, is we wanted to have a structure under which we could actually speak to our team about, and really some pillars that we spoke to the team about that we needed to actually align to our strategies. We got 5 pillars within our business. And as we establish a 12-month and a 3-year strategy plan, we look at those 5 pillars and really try to understand, have we actually achieved success across those 5 pillars of business? Now, within our business of wealth management, that will be quite different to a number of your other businesses. And then what we did is we transformed those 5 pillars into a plan on a page, which could share with everybody in the team. So who are we? What do we stand for? What are our values? What are our 5 pillars? And what does success look like at the end of the day? And so we document that every 12 months. We share that with our team, and we want our team to actually understand what that is. And so success to us is about actually not delivering upon 1 or 2 of those, which could be revenue or client growth. It's about getting the balance right between the people we have, the compliance program we have, and making sure that's well understood across the business. So to me, success is the discipline of producing the key pillars, achieving those within the right cultural environment, and getting the balance right between all of those. And for us with our people, it's not about producing the most amount of profit. It's not about getting the best investment return at the sacrifice of anyone else. It's trying to almost find that best equilibrium of balance within the business at any point in time. But that plan on a page took a long time, but it was something we're quite proud of we're able to do.
Yeah. What's the next chapter for the business and for you? So
the best wealth management firms that I've seen in the world have predominantly been out of the US, where scale has allowed them to attract even better talent. It allows you to get better systems, processes, technology. AI is obviously a big theme across every business at the moment. And some of these large programs or investments you need to make actually require scale. And the way we see that is that for everybody is focused on what their margin is within a business. So let's say you have a 30% margin. Every dollar of additional revenue or profit you make, you've actually got another 70 cents to spend on people, technology, etc. So to me, scale allows you to make bigger investments within your business to create sustainability, be better about what you do. And so to me, this is about actually creating better scale, attracting great people to the business, further improving everything we do. I mean, think about the fact we're sort of 24th year in. There's so many things we want to continue to improve, continue to get better at. And I think the moment that you're not thinking that way is probably the time that you hang up your boots and do something else. So I'm pretty excited with what we can do. This industry's gone through a lot of regulatory change. I think there's been about 60% of the advisors within the industry have exited the industry over the last sort of 5 to 7 years. And it is a big opportunity where advice is complex. I'd really encourage people to seek advice because there's a lot of things you don't know that you don't know. And you really can transform your life and that of your family by getting some expertise around it.
Yeah.
Love it. Right, rapid fire.
We're into rapid fire already.
We're into rapid fire. That's where we're going.
I was going to say, Matt, you've probably had enough. You've probably talked enough.
No,
God, I kind of had enough now.
Let's go quick.
All right, rapid fire. It's got to be the first thing that comes to mind. I don't know if I don't think you've been prepped on these questions.
No,
so,
we didn't prep you.
Good one. Sharron, I'll let you ask the first question.
Best piece of business advice you've ever been given?
Follow successful or success leaves clues.
Oh, I like that one.
I love
That's a
that.
good one, actually. Most overrated thing people say about building a successful business.
Work-life balance.
Oh, yeah, that's a good one.
Your go-to coffee order?
Lots of coffee.
Lots
of coffee
all of the
and
coffees.
very early in the morning.
What's one question every founder should ask their advisor but almost never do?
Probably not a short answer, but am I actually converting? Am I safeguarding my business by a strong personal wealth plan?
That's good.
Making sure that you've got actually some money stuck away for a rainy day should things not pan out within your
love
business.
Yes, we've got a few of those clients.
Yeah.
If Partners Wealth Group was a band, what instrument would you play?
Probably piano, because I can't think of anything else.
Okay. Well, that's a wrap. Matt, thank you so much for being with us today.
Absolute pleasure.
It's been great to hear all about you, about the business that you've built, an incredible business. And I mean, I said it before, the first time we walked in here, it felt like a great business. And that's not easy to get. To walk into a business and feel that straight away, both with yourself and the business. So congratulations.
Thank you. And great to share the podcast with you this afternoon. Thanks, guys.
Thanks
and,
a lot.
And keep up the great work. As I said, it's been a pleasure to do this. I love the work you're doing. And, we all get better by sitting around and collaborating as well. And it's probably another word that I think is really important, collaborating with great people with a shared view and a shared vision of what you're actually doing. And I do believe that if we collaborate, we can achieve so much more together than alone. So well done on all the work you're doing as a firm.
Thank you. And we have to have little high fives at the end. So high five, Shaz. High fives, Matt.
Shaz.
Thank you very much.
Pleasure. Thank you.